I never thought I'd be the one to spark a neighborhood revolt, but here I was, staring down three self-proclaimed HOA enforcers who looked like they'd just raided a costume shop for authority vibes. Their clipboards were out, their smug grins were on, and they were about to ruin the best day our little community had seen in years. All because I dared to throw a charity event for kids with cancer in my own damn backyard. It started innocently enough. My name's Lena Harper, a single mom and part-time nurse who's lived in Sunnyvale Estates for 5 years. This suburban slice of Maplewood, Ohio, is the kind of place where people wave politely but keep their drama behind closed curtains. I'd always been the quiet type, keeping my head down, raising my 7-year-old daughter, Mia, and working long shifts at the hospital. But when Mia's best friend, little Emma from down the street, got diagnosed with leukemia, something in me snapped. I couldn't just sit there. I had to do something. So, I planned a charity fundraiser in our community park, a big, open space with a gazebo and picnic tables, perfect for a day of hope and healing. There'd be face painting, a bake sale, live music, and a raffle to raise money for Emma's treatment. I spent weeks organizing, getting permits from the city, and rallying neighbors to pitch in. The whole thing felt like a beacon of light in a dark time. The morning of the event, the park was buzzing. Kids ran around with balloons, their faces painted like superheroes. Neighbors brought homemade cookies and lemonade. A local band played soft acoustic covers, and the air smelled like summer grass and optimism. I stood by the raffle table, watching Mia and Emma giggle together, their bald heads shining under the sun. For a moment, everything felt right. Then they showed up. Three strangers in matching navy blue polos with HOA stitched in bright yellow letters across their chests. They marched into the park like they owned it, clipboards clutched like weapons. The leader, a wiry guy with a mustache that screamed, "I peaked in high school," introduced himself as Gary, head of the Sunnyvale Homeowners Association. I'd never heard of an HOA in our neighborhood. Nobody had. Sunnyvale was a mix of rentals and owned homes, with no official HOA ever mentioned in my lease or any neighbor's deed. But Gary wasn't here to explain. He was here to shut us down. "Your event is in violation of multiple HOA regulations," Gary barked, flipping through his clipboard like it was the Constitution. "Unpermitted gatherings, excessive noise, unauthorized signage, and oh, look at that littering." He pointed to a single balloon that had popped and fallen to the grass. I blinked, stunned. The crowd around us went quiet, the music fading as heads turned. "Excuse me," I said, stepping forward. "This is a charity event for a sick kid. I have a permit from the city." "Who the hell are you?" Gary smirked, undeterred. "We're the Sunnyvale HOA, ma'am, formed last month to maintain community standards. You didn't get our approval, and you're looking at a $2,500 fine for noncompliance?" His two sidekicks, a beefy guy who looked like he bench-pressed his ego daily, and a woman with a Karen haircut straight out of a meme, nodded like bobbleheads. The crowd started murmuring. Mrs. Jenkins, the 80-year-old widow who'd baked 3 dozen snickerdoodles, shouted, "What HOA? I've lived here 30 years, and ain't nobody told me about no HOA." Others chimed in, their voices rising. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about Emma, about the kids, about our community coming together. And these clowns were trying to tear it apart. I tried to stay calm. "Look, Gary, I don't know who you think you are, but I've got a city permit, and this park is public property. You can't fine us." I held up the permit, my hands shaking. Gary barely glanced at it. "City permits don't override HOA bylaws," he said, scribbling something on his clipboard. "You'll be hearing from our lawyer, and if you don't disperse this crowd in 30 minutes, we'll escalate to law enforcement." The crowd erupted. Parents clutched their kids. Vendors started packing up, and the band stopped mid-song. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This wasn't just a power trip, it was sabotage. I looked at Emma, sitting in her wheelchair with a superhero cape draped over her shoulders, her eyes wide with confusion. My heart broke. I wasn't going to let these wannabe cops ruin her day. That's when things got messy. I climbed onto a picnic table, grabbed a megaphone from the band, and shouted, "Everyone, listen up. These people are trying to shut down our fundraiser for Emma. They're claiming to be some fake HOA, and they're threatening fines we don't owe. Are we going to let them bully us?" The crowd roared back, a mix of "hell no" and "screw you." Gary, I didn't plan to start a riot, but I wasn't backing down either. Gary's face turned red. "You're making a big mistake. Lady," he hissed, jabbing a finger at me. His sidekick started snapping photos of the crowd, probably to intimidate us. That's when the twist came. A wiry, gray-haired man pushed through the crowd, his face familiar but out of place. It was Mr. Rodriguez, the quiet retiree who lived at the end of my street. I barely knew him, but he was holding a stack of papers and looking madder than a hornet's nest. "Gary, you fraud," Mr. Rodriguez shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm a retired lawyer, and I checked the county records. There's no registered HOA for Sunnyvale Estates. You and your goons are running a scam." He waved the papers, copies of property records and HOA regulations that didn't exist. The crowd gasped, then cheered. Gary's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of pure panic. Turns out, Mr. Rodriguez had been suspicious of these HOA types ever since they started leaving flyers in mailboxes, demanding dues for a non-existent organization. He'd done some digging and found nothing but a shady LLC registered to Gary's name, tied to a P.O. box in another state. This wasn't an HOA, it was a con, preying on our neighborhood's trust. The confrontation hit fever pitch. Neighbors surrounded Gary and his crew, demanding answers. Someone called the local news, and a van from Channel 5 pulled up within minutes, cameras rolling. Gary tried to bolt, but the crowd blocked his path. His sidekicks abandoned him, sprinting toward their car, but not before someone okay. Maybe it was Mrs. Jenkins chucked a snickerdoodle that hit the beefy guy square in the back. The crowd laughed, but the tension was electric. I stood on the table, megaphone still in hand, watching the chaos unfold. This was our moment, the moment our community said, "Enough is enough." Then came the real game changer. A sleek black SUV rolled into the park, and out stepped my cousin, Mayor Clarissa Tate. I hadn't seen her in months, but I'd texted her in a panic when Gary first showed up. Clarissa didn't mess around. She marched straight to Gary, her heels clicking on the pavement, and said, "You're done here. I've got the sheriff on speed dial, and the city attorney's already drafting charges for fraud and extortion." The crowd went wild, chanting her name. Gary stammered, clutching his clipboard like a lifeline, but he had nothing left. The aftermath was a whirlwind. The news crew broadcast the story live, exposing Gary's scam to the whole county. Social media exploded, with the Jashir's Sunnyvale scam trending on X by nightfall. Neighbors posted videos of the confrontation, and the internet did what it does best, turned Gary into a meme. Someone even made a GIF of Mrs. Jenkins' cookie toss, captioned, "Grandma don't play." By the next day, the sheriff's department had arrested Gary and his crew, uncovering a trail of similar scams in nearby towns. They'd been posing as HOA enforcers, pocketing fake fines and dues from unsuspecting communities. Our fundraiser didn't just survive, it thrived. After the drama, donations poured in from across the state. We raised $50,000 for Emma's treatment, enough to cover her medical bills for a year. The park stayed packed until midnight, with neighbors dancing, eating, and celebrating like we'd won a war. Emma, grinning ear to ear, told me it was the best day of her life. I cried like a baby, hugging her tight. Looking back, I realized something profound. Those fake HOA cops thought they could bully us into submission, but they underestimated the power of a community united. They picked the wrong neighborhood, the wrong mom, and the wrong kid to mess with. Karma hit them hard, and it felt damn good to watch. But more than that, it showed me that sometimes standing up to nonsense isn't just about winning, it's about reminding people what matters: love, hope, and a little bit of snickerdoodle throwing courage. So, what do you think? Have you ever faced off with a bully like Gary, or seen a community come together to fight back? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it.